Now, if there's one review I know will get me into hot water with my thoughts, it will be this one. But welcome to episode 19 of the Day in Film MiniCast. It's your host, the Patnator, as always, and we are going to jump right into Joker, directed by Todd Phillips, came out in 2019, and starring Joaquin Phoenix. If you can't tell, just based off of how smoothly I'm talking about this movie, I have definitely seen it before. And I have to say that this is one of the, not unfortunately because I don't want to look down on it too much, but this is indeed one of the, probably one of the most important formulating films of my film watching career, I should say. I was very into this film when I was, back in 2019 when I was however many years old, and the movie stuck with me and eventually got me to watch movies like Taxi Driver and Nightcrawler and other movies in the quote-unquote literally me genre, and it's led me to where we are now. But that's enough about me. Let's get on to the actual movie. To summarize Joker's plot, this is a film following one Arthur Fleck and his descent into madness and his and the creation of the Joker out of his scenario. So this movie came out in 2019, and I remember being very upset when it did not win Best Picture and Parasite won over it. I remember thinking, how did a shitty foreign film win instead of the Joker, one of the most important movies of our generation? At the time, I was a very big Joker fan, obviously. I don't even know how old, and I just thought it looked good, and therefore it was good. And my critical thinking skills have definitely changed a lot since then. On rewatch, I knew for a fact I would not like it as much as I did way back when, and I was pretty spot on, so much so that my review, I'm going to drop it now, has went from a 10 out of 10, I'd probably call it a masterpiece back then, to now a 5 out of 10. So one of the things I dislike about the Joker the most is probably its whole, just the lack of heart behind the camera. So one of the movies that Joker is so often compared to would be Taxi Driver, directed by Martin Scorsese. That movie is, the stories and the character of Travis Bickle and Arthur Fleck are inherently very similar. They're two loners who are just trying to get through the world and eventually go to dramatic ends of the spectrum to feel like someone again. Both films focus on personal identity and lost dreams and blah, 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 blah. And when you look at Taxi Driver and you look at how artistically it's made and you look at how great the music is, and saying that, that's one thing that is still great about Joker, the music is pretty consistently strong. But one thing that you notice between Taxi Driver and Joker is just the lack of real voice behind a Joker, and I think a lot of that is due to Taxi Driver's main writer, Paul Schrader. And I don't know who wrote Joker off the top of my head, but I don't want to diss them. This is for the most part, a very fine written movie, but it definitely doesn't have that same personal connection that Paul Schrader had to his Taxi Driver script. Another thing that really ticks me off about this movie is how smart it thinks it's being. And that's not to say that there's anything wrong with what some might classify as pretentious filmmaking. I'm not obsessed with it, but I love pretentious filmmaking and movies that think they're way better than you, especially movies like Solaris and Stalker, where those movies are legitimately smarter than you. But Taxi Driver, at least to me, I don't think Taxi Driver tries to make you feel like you're learning something. Taxi Driver feels a lot more personal than this. This movie is almost directly criticizing the social climate at the time, which is totally cool. But when you go back to watch it, and obviously there's still anti-rich sentiments in the United States, and people still associate anarchy and things like that, and socialism and communism with Joker. But when you go back to watch now, you can almost feel how 2019 it is. Certain characters resemble certain political figures. You can draw a million comparisons, and I don't have a problem with that, but just going back now, it feels so dated. A movie that came out not even 10 years ago feels so old and just not with it anymore. And I think a more timeless take on the Joker would have been a lot better. And again, I appreciate what Todd Phillips was trying to do with Joker, and in some aspects he did very well. But again, it all just comes down to a feeling, of course, my personal feeling. This movie doesn't have a real heart behind it. It feels like Todd Phillips was tired of making hangovers, and then he went, I'm going to make a really nice-looking movie. I'm going to make a very pretty-looking movie. And he made the Joker, and I'll admit there are some scenes that look very good. The city of Gotham does look, at least visually, like to your eye, looks good. It looks very run down. It looks very trashy. It looks very foggy. I think it works for the movie. But outside of those pretty views, the movie is just so unbelievably shallow. The actors are all pretty good. I don't think Joaquin Phoenix is the best actor, and I definitely don't think that he should have won Best Picture in a year with, Adam Driver in Marriage Story and things like that. But for the most part, every character's actor, or every actor or actress in the movie does a pretty good job. Again, the writing feels really hollow. The score is still great. The cinematography, again, is probably my biggest gripe, because I think visuals are so important in a film like this, and it just feels like it's, it almost feels like it's not shot at all. They just had a bunch of scenes, and they were like, okay, we're going to record this, and we're just going to put it down, we're going to figure it out in the moment. It doesn't feel like anything was planned out. There are no shots in this movie that make me think, oh wow, they really thought about this. They are just pretty looking shots. Very surface level. And again, that's probably my biggest complaint about Joker. It feels very, it feels, and it is, at least to me, it is very intro film level, like film, in a way. Again, this movie got me in to, film as a whole. This movie made me watch movies like Nightcrawler and Taxi Driver and Drive, and for that I'm very grateful. But when you go back to watch it, it definitely does feel like it feels like a stepping stone that you at one point stepped on and enjoyed in your film obsession, like I might have. But after that, it feels like you can never go back and enjoy it the same way that you once did. And that's just me. And I know that a movie like this, a lot of people are very big fans of Joker. And I know that shitting on it this much is probably not good for the audience, but for people who don't watch, or who don't try to watch 300 films a month like I do, or 300 films a year like I do, I can totally understand why you would hold Joker with such reverence, because it is a very easy film to watch. It is a very good-looking film to watch. You feel very engaged with it as you watch it. It hits a lot of little weird mental things that I can't really describe on recording. But I don't think I have much more to say. Obviously, I watched this in preparation for Joker Folie à Deux. I'm watching that in approximately 30 minutes, so can't wait to record that review. But with all that out of the way, again, I'm also very sorry. This is not a spooky cast. Probably no spooky videos on Saturday. Sorry, guys. It's going to be tough to fit in if I do make one. But with all that out of the way, last, I have to ask you to like and subscribe to the channel. It really would mean the world, especially if you disagreed with this video. If you did not like what I had to say, subscribe and stick around, because I'm sure eventually I'll say an opinion that you agree with. But with all that out of the way, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you in the theaters.